So I'm going to hand over to Angus now, and you know, kind of allow you to sort of offer your thoughts, if you would, Angus. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thanks, Graham. Morning, everybody, and apologies for the less than salubrious surroundings. I'm on a hard shoulder on the A1, just coming back from the game last night. But really, what I wanted to say was just a big thank you to all of you who are members of the trust. The relationship with the trust continues to be really important for me personally, but also for the board and for the club as a whole. I think when we started 3 years ago, I asked that the trust would become our critical friend. Wouldn't be afraid to tell us when we were going wrong. Wouldn't be afraid to give us constructive feedback, but would always do it in a supporting way, in a way where the interests of the club and the whole of the club and all of its members and of all our constituent groups, supporter groups, were put first. And I think this year has been another year where the trust have demonstrated that. It's been a challenging year. Obviously, we've had huge successes and huge challenges, and in both of those, in victory and disaster, we've treated both those foes the same, and I think we've stood shoulder to shoulder with the trust on all issues. And as usual, we haven't got some things right, and I think the guys of the trust have been quick to point that out. And you know, we always take their feedback on board. We don't always agree with it, but it's great to have that perspective put in a constructive manner. And for those of you who don't know, you know, we have discussions regularly, but we're also all on a WhatsApp group with the committee members, and that gives them the ability on a very direct basis to drop me messages or drop me notes, and I can respond, or I can get the team to respond if we're not doing that quick enough. So for me, you all play a huge important part in what we're trying to do, which is make Leeds great again. From a club perspective, if you take aside the fact that supporters can't come into the stadium, and it you know, I'm sure it's depressing you, but it's depressing me more. It's a really lonely place to be in Ellen Road, watching the games without everybody there, and it's in games like last night where I thought, you know, if we'd have had 34,000 Leeds United fans there, you know, they might have made the difference. And actually, even though we voted for fans to return, knowing that we probably wouldn't have fans in, and Marcelo, you know, said that he thought it would be a competitive disadvantage, I was actually surprised at Chelsea what a disadvantage it is. So, you know, even if we can get 2,000 back, I think it'll make a difference. But aside from that, you know, we've sort of come across our centenary season. You know, we won the league in our centenary season. The guys did it in style. I know we couldn't celebrate it in the way we liked, but I felt throughout that period that the unity we wanted, the unity between supporters, players, and board has been there. And we always knew that if we could get this club united, then I think I've said before, there was no limit to our ambitions. And I think last season proved that. But no one is resting on their laurels. You know, no one thinks at board level, or Marcelo or the team think that Leeds being in the Premier League is enough. We need to compete in the Premier League, and we need to compete in the top half of the Premier League. What I think we've experienced this year is we've seen some really positive signs. I think we've got players and clearly a manager and a coaching staff who can absolutely compete at the highest level of the Premier League. But we're also learning that it's a very unforgiving place. It's much more clinical, and the type of football we play can be punished much more easily than it can be in the Championship, and the team are having to adapt to that. But even though some of the most recent results haven't gone with us, I think we've shown enough to show that we can stabilise at this level. And then it's really about where do we take it, you know, going forward. And for me, you know, the size and scale of Leeds United, I shouldn't be surprised by it, but I am surprised by it. And I hate it because it's a commercial metric, and it's, you know, shouldn't be the sign of how well we're doing. But, you know, we've sold 10 times more shirts than we did 3 years ago. You know, we outsell West Ham, we outsell Everton by a multiple on the shirt front. So it shows the scale of the club. And if we can harness that scale and build the club in the way we're doing, we can create the revenues which can ensure that Leeds can establish themselves as a top half Premier League side. And not every club has the permission to do that because they just don't have the fan base where we do. I think we've also got good news in that we know now we're a very investable proposition. I didn't think anybody wanted really to touch the club when Massimo was in charge, and Andrea was very brave in making that transaction happen. We're now in a position where everyone's seeing the trajectory we're on, and I think Leeds is, once again, one of the most investable propositions probably in world football, and that's a great card that we have to play in terms of developing the club and growing it as we go forward. And we've got some great existing partners in the 49ers who wouldn't be surprised if they step up and help us going forward from an investment perspective. And then I think it's around continuing to build our infrastructure. So we'll be breaking ground on the Park Life scheme, which will be a world-class community sports hub on Fullerton Park, which I think will be, will lead all European clubs in how they can put community facilities onto their stadium site. We are moving forward with moving the academy to Matthew Murray, and we're now doing the ground exploration works on Matthew Murray to accelerate that process. And we've also started the preliminary phase of the stadium, the stadium redevelopment project, looking at both the west and the north stand, and how we can get the stadium up to the 50 to 55 to potentially 60,000 in phases stadium that we need to be ultimately a team which is competing in Europe. So for me, the future's really bright. This season is going to continue to be challenging. I think we need to stay united, and the players need our support in the sort of social media sphere more than ever before, because they can't get it in person. And then as you guys start to come back to the game, I want everybody to stay united and not let the processes around getting tickets and attending games becoming divisive amongst the fan base, because I can tell you there is no elegant solution to allocating 2,000 tickets to 34,000 supporters. But we are going to do our best to make it fair, to get as many people in as we can, prioritising season ticket holders, cascading to members when we can get to that point. And I think hopefully by the end of the season, if the macro health environment continues to improve, we'll be in a position where we can have full crowds this season. And I think we've got a pretty tasty fixture list in April, and certainly from an emotional perspective, I'm really hoping that we get you all back to the ground by then. So that's it for me, really. Just thank you once again. I think my role today has been partly to be a warm-up man to John Richardson, which is a highlight for my career and probably a highlight for his too. So you'll have something much more entertaining following me. But thanks again. And if you do have any questions or comments, I don't think the forum's today. It might be, but please put them through to Graham, and normally we're pretty responsive in getting back to him with answers. So thanks again.
Thanks, Angus. We have got just a couple of questions, if you don't mind. If there's
okay, no problem.
If that's okay.
No problem.
So one from Michael Green saying, Angus, can we get a clear commitment that even if Leeds return to its rightful place at the pinnacle of English football, the club will never support proposals that gives unfettered power to a narrow set of clubs?
Absolutely. That is the easiest question I've ever had. We completely agree in the principle of the football pyramid and the ability for clubs to climb and go down the football pyramid, and B, that it is one club per one club, one vote, and every vote's equal. And the fact that clubs have told us that our vote doesn't count as much as theirs because we haven't been in the league long enough, you can imagine infuriates us. And we will never change our position on that, and we'll be resolute, even when we will be ultimately when we're back to being one of the top 6 clubs. It still won't change. We believe in a democracy at Premier League level.
Great, no, thank you. And then one more, which was, when do you believe the timescale will be for replacing the West Stand and / North Stand? Are we?
Okay, so it's we're looking at the phasing now, and what we're trying to do is understand how we can not reduce capacities while we're doing the build. And you'll see a number of clubs have done that by building over the top of the existing stand, moving fans upstairs, and then completing the stand below. If you start now and we continue the process at the pace we're doing it, then it's 2.5 to 3 years from now to completion is about the time frame. And obviously it depends on being in the retaining our Premier League status. But it's something we know there's demand for. We put a season, we created the season ticket waiting list. We put a price of £10 on it to ensure that people were serious, and we had 20,000 people sign up in a week. So we've gone from a situation where I think we had, when I started, 15,000 season ticket holders to one where we've got 24,000 season ticket holders and another 20,000 on the waiting list. So a stadium of 50 to 55,000 is eminently doable. It works from a financial perspective, and in the long term, it also helps to because we can change the balance of corporate, of premium and general admission seats. In the long term, it means that it can keep the price of general admission seats low and suppressed.
Great. I think that's it for now, Angus.
Just before, there is just one question that we've had sort of separately. Appreciate that sort of getting fans into Elland Road at the current time is the priority, but obviously that begs the question that when things do start to relax, looking at away allocations, and I know this is one of your favourite topics, is away loyalty and allocations around away tickets, Angus. If we're likely to have reduced perhaps allocations in the Premier League, no more than 3,000. That was pretty much standard as the cut-off before, based on loyalty. So, kind of in that sense, what do we feel that it's going to be a closed shop, or will there be the club be looking at different alternatives in terms of around away ticket allocation?
Well, the principle on away tickets has been, we don't want it to be a closed shop, so we want it to be a mix of away season ticket holders, and the away season ticket will continue, of loyalty points, and then giving an opportunity when we can for supporters who don't have loyalty points and haven't followed the club away from them to start to gain loyalty points. To be honest, we haven't done a lot of work into the reduced allocations because it seems a bit of a long way off. It's probably not something we need to worry about this season, but I don't think that mix will change. So it'll be a combination of away season tickets, loyalty points, plus a ballot option for people to start to gain loyalty points if they want to.
Thank you for that, Angus. I think that's pretty much it. So, once again, massive thank you from us for sparing your time. We can allow you to get back on with your journey and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks a lot for taking the time.
Good stuff. Good to see you all, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye.